So if you haven't heard already, I'm sure you probably did if you're a fan or a lover of Tom Ford fragrances, but Estee Lauder has purchased Tom Ford completely, everything, for $2.8 billion. It's a lot of money. That makes Tom Ford a billionaire, as he will receive $2.3 billion of it. I don't know what the differences are between the actual $2.8 billion and the amount Tom Ford will receive, but I thought I'd put together a video of some of the stuff that's going on with Estee Lauder and Tom Ford, and also do an updated top 20 list of Tom Ford fragrances. If you're curious to learn about all of this, then please stay tuned. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Sebastian. Yes, Tom Ford is purchased for $2.8 billion. So Estee Lauder used to have a license agreement with Tom Ford for the beauty and fragrances, but now Estee Lauder has purchased the entire brand, clothing and everything. Everything Tom Ford, Estee Lauder has it. And apparently they will license out the fashions to a third-party company that will do it for Tom Ford, Xenia. The eyewear will be licensed through Marcolan, I think that's the name of the company, and then Estee Lauder will continue doing the beauty and fragrances, which is what we mostly talk about here on this channel. Big fan of Tom Ford fragrances, although wasn't very happy with the price hikes recently. Damn, they're so freaking expensive, because FF freaking Fabulous now sells for $1,200 in a 250 ml bottle. That is just overly priced, I think. Way too high priced. Way, way, way. I don't know if I'll ever buy another bottle of FF. I have it here. Do you think I will? I don't know. Is it good? Well, you're gonna find out in this list, but a little bit more. I heard or I read that Tom Ford will stay on through the end of 2023, and after that I don't know what he'll do. Most likely he'll go back to directing a few more films, because he won't have the responsibility of his fashion brand or fashion house. So Estee Lauder will take it over completely. So one last thing before we will move on with the list, there's a trio apparently of fragrances coming from Tom Ford. Most importantly, Cherry Smoke. So I heard Cherry Smoke is launching at the end of this year for the beginning of next year, most likely for Valentine's Day, which is around the corner, right when we hit January. So I also heard a rumor that there will be a trio of cherry fragrances. So most likely, in addition to Lost Cherry, which is currently on the market, we'll have Cherry Smoke and a third cherry fragrance, or I don't know if they're launching 3 more in addition to Lost Cherry. So we shall see. But what do you guys think about this deal with Estee Lauder? This is the first time Estee Lauder is doing fashions. And I read that Clarins did fashions for Thierry Mugler when they first got into the deal with Thierry Mugler, which is now Mugler. But I think that did not end very well. So they also not only didn't do the fashions anymore, but also they got rid of distributing Mugler. So let's see how Estee Lauder does with Tom Ford's fashions, but let's go ahead and get started with the list. Do let me know, put a comment down, let me know what you think about this deal, what we're anticipating with the trio of cherry fragrances, including Cherry Smoke. Let me know what some of your favorite Tom Ford fragrances are. But before I do get started, I don't have some of the original classics that got discontinued, some of the really popular ones that were very much sought after with perfumistas who really love and enjoy perfumes, and stuff that kind of goes into the vintage direction. I might have a few here, and this list is all fragrances that I am a fan of. There will be discontinued fragrances, so I'm just doing a different kind of list this time of fragrances that I enjoy. So first fragrance we're going to talk about at number 20 is White Suede. This is Tom Ford's Musk. It's cozy, it's comforting, it's clean, it's musky, and it features notes of suede, musk, lily of the valley, saffron, sandalwood, thyme, amber, olibanum. A little smoky, a little ambery. There's definitely aromatic touches in there, and of course there's leather for sure, because it's white suede. It's a soft, very soft leather, woods and things like that. So it's a very cozy fragrance, very intimate. I think you can use that to layer with some other fragrances. I like it on its own. It's very cozy, as I said, comforting, and definitely a great bed scent as well. Moving on to the next fragrance at number 19, it's Soleil Blanc, a more recent acquisition for me, and I really enjoy the the beachiness here, the suntan lotioniness here, the tropicality or the tropical touches here with coconut, tuberose, pistachio, ylang-ylang, amber, tonka, benzoin, jasmine. Beautiful fragrance. It's definitely very beachy. If you like the idea of coconutty tropical floral fragrance, that's definitely one for you to try. I think that's a great Tom Ford release. It is at number 19 for sure. Up next at number 18, it's Grey Vetiver. This one right here, a masculine targeted release. Definitely a great citrusy, grapefruity, orangey vetiver fragrance. Earthiness is there, woodiness is there of the vetiver, but there's definitely citruses here, lots of them. Woodsy notes, there's oak moss and orange blossom here to give you the amped up kind of floral citrusy touch mixed with the additional citruses that are in here. Definitely classy, gentlemanly, but also very fresh vetiver fragrance. Grey Vetiver from the house of Tom Ford at number 18. Number 17, it's FF, freaking fabulous. Yeah, I put it at number 17. It's not one of my all-time favorite fragrances. I like it, but it's not a wow fragrance. This is probably like a third or fourth leather fragrance from this house. Maybe this is probably even fifth. They keep doing leather, but this leather is meshed with almonds. Lots of almonds here with tonka beans. So there's a bitter almondy touch here along with the leather. You've got Clary sage, you've got Cashmeran, and you've got orris. You know, a lot of people like it. A lot of people love the name. As you can see right here, what is it? It's freaking fabulous, right? It's not really, to me, that's why it's not at the top of the list, but it deserves to be at number 17. Next, it's Bitter Peach at number 16. I have a video on the 4 X-rated fragrances from Tom Ford. You can go catch that video separately, because I feel like after FF, they launched several fragrances that went really kind of naughty things. Though if you ever look up what Bitter Peach means, don't be shocked. Peach, patchouli, blood orange, sandalwood, vanilla, tonka beans, and cashmeran. There's definitely a peachy angel, Mugler angel-like reminder in here, but it's definitely full-on peach. It's very, very peachy, and number 16 is Bitter Peach. At number 15, it's Lost Cherry, one of the other X-rated fragrances. I kind of categorize those all together. Lost Cherry is a fun and fruity, a bit girly kind of a fragrance. Definitely very, very cherry. Lots of cherry here with cherries, almonds, liqueur. So there's definitely a cherry liqueur vibe with tonka beans, Peru balsam, vanilla, and plums. It's very, very fruity and boozy, but more cherry liqueur. It doesn't act like cognac or whiskey or rum or things like that. Definitely the cherries in your face. I recently did a rank list of cherry fragrances, and I ranked this at number 1 because I felt like it was the cherriest of them all. So definitely launching or kickstarting that big obsession with cherry fragrances. There's a ton of them out there. And so at number 15, it's Lost Cherry. As you can see, I'm not ranking Lost Cherry at number 1. It's not necessarily one of my all-time favorite fragrances from Tom Ford, but it definitely, I think, is a solid cherry fragrance. And then finally, the last of the X-rated Tom Ford fragrances, it's Rose Prick, this one right here. And this is a Chypre style spicy rose fragrance. They've got a ton of rose fragrances. This is, again, kind of in that ballpark of Eau Capitale from Diptyque, maybe kind of like lightly hinting at something like Portrait of a Lady. So it does have these Chypre vibes, but it's rose times 3. There's 3 different types of rose in here. There's Sichuan pepper, turmeric, patchouli, tonka beans. So when you have that rose and patchouli kind of combo, it kind of takes on a characteristic of a rose Chypre style. And I feel like it's a pretty solid fragrance. That's why I've ranked it here at number 14, Rose Prick at number 14. So are you a fan of those fragrances I've mentioned so far? Do let me know, put a comment down so I can find out. You might think that Lost Cherry is your all-time favorite Tom Ford fragrance, or Rose Prick is, but they're not one of the really, really great fragrances for me. They're a bit mass market. At least that's how I feel about those fragrances. All right, moving on to number 13, it's Fougere Platine. This came out with another fragrance, Fougere Ardente, and between the two, I really loved Fougere Platine because it kind of took me to a direction of Vert de Bois, one of their discontinued fragrances that's also on this list, which I'm a fan of. So taking the Fougere into kind of licorice-y direction was a breath of fresh air for me. It features Clary sage with tobacco, Artemisia, woodsy notes, lavender, lavender and honey. I really like that kind of licoricey, anise kind of direction this particular fougere went, and so as I said, it was a kind of a breath of fresh air experience in comparison to Fougere Ardente, which I was not a really big fan of. That's why I'm featuring at number 13 Fougere Platine, a solid fragrance. If you can get your hands on that, definitely deserves to be purchased, because if you like the idea of licorice or anise in a fougere direction, definitely deserves to be in your collection. So next is Black Orchid Parfum. I'm going with the Parfum in this video. You can go with the original. This to me is a bit syrupier and stickier, but taking the original Black Orchid, which is a very, very popular fragrance for Tom Ford, into the Parfum territory. So it's more concentrated. As I said, it's stickier and denser. It features dark chocolate with truffles. There's patchouli, there's orchid, there's vanilla, incense, spices, and plums. And a lot of you were asking me why I didn't feature this in my plum fragrances video. You know, I felt to leave it off. I had to leave off some fragrances because I don't consider it as a plummy, uber plummy fragrance, if that makes sense. But there were a bunch of other plum fragrances that were left off because I just felt like they just didn't belong in my top 20. But still, in a list for Tom Ford fragrances, it definitely deserves to be on the list. At least one of the Black Orchids. So at number 12, it's Black Orchid Parfum. And then it's Noir Extreme Parfum, the latest flanker to Noir Extreme, which is a flanker of Noir, which is also on this list. Noir Extreme Parfum is super delicious, and once again they've taken the original Noir Extreme and taken it into a sticky, sweet, kind of dense, ambery direction, and really delicious experience here with the kulfi. There's vanilla, cardamom amber, nutmeg, leather, sandalwood, tonka, orange blossom. Definitely really enjoy the Parfum version. The original was great. It's kind of a sweet, gourmandish take on a men's masculine fragrance, but here we have it more amped up, more intense, in your face sweetness, but definitely sticky and sweet and ambery for sure. Noir Extreme Parfum at number 11. And then finally, it's Tom Ford's the original Noir. And Noir was the first fragrance in this series, then it was Noir in the Eau de Toilette, and then we've got Noir Extreme, and then we got Noir Anthracite. Of course, Noir Extreme probably became, no, not probably, definitely became the most popular in the collection. And Noir is sort of available, but not here in the States. It's selling in UK. I've seen it on Selfridges and Harrods website. But you know, Noir is such a sexy masculine fragrance. It's a kind of animalic and musky experience. So if you like the idea of a musky fragrance, but very, very complex, you know, it's got layers and layers of things going on with it. Patchouli, iris, amber, vanilla, rose, civet, leather, black pepper, violet, pink pepper, and lots of other goodies that are here to kind of like take you on a journey of this beautiful, most sexy, classy, masculine offering. It's too bad it's discontinued. It's such a great fragrance. I do enjoy it more than the Noir Extreme series, but man, if you can get your hands on this, definitely classy. I feel like it's got powdery touches, you know, the musk in there. It's kind of a different take on something like Musk Ravageur to me, and I like those kind of fragrances. So Tom Ford Noir at number 10. So up next, going to Tuscan Leather, but I'm going with the Intense version here. The Intense version was so good, guys. It came as a limited edition, and man, they had that kind of licoricey touch once again here with leather, and I love licorice, I love anise, I love you know, absinthe and things like that. So anytime I see that kind of a note and they've used it really nicely, I'm all over it. And this Tuscan Leather Intense was such a breath of fresh air in comparison to the original Tuscan Leather, which actually kind of reminds me of ombre leather. So here we had something a little different happening for a leather. We've got leather here, suede, animalic notes, davana, woods, raspberry. So it's that davana that gives me that kind of licoricey touch, the anise touch here, contrasted with the animalic touches, the suede and the leather, woods and raspberry. So delicious. If you can get your hands on this, I highly recommend it. Tuscan Leather Intense at number 9. Next, this is definitely a very, very great offering, classy offering for men. It's Beau de Jour from Tom Ford at number 8. Again, this is, to me, is the modern take on something like Fougère Royale or barbershop fragrance like Rive Gauche pour Homme. Even a better take on a fragrance like At the Barber's. They've done a great job with this particular fragrance. It's a barbershop fragrance, fully with lots of lavender here. It's very aromatic, spicy, with lavender, rosemary, patchouli, amber, mint, oak moss, and geranium. Lavender and geranium work wonderfully together. The geranium kind of gives you a little bit of mintiness, a bit of rosiness, the patchouli with its earthiness. It eventually settles to a bit of an amber, oak moss thing, woods, solid release. FOUGERE at number 8, a wonderful, wonderful fragrance from Tom Ford. Then at number 7, sadly, another discontinued fragrance. It's Vert de Bois. Have you guys tried this one? Vert de Bois, again, it's got that licoricey touch here that I really, really love. It's got an ouzo accord, and that's what's really cool about this particular fragrance. Ouzo is made with anise, but it also has the poplar tree buds. There's olive tree here, there's mastic resin, woodsy notes, patchouli, and of course that ouzo accord. Man, this was so good. This came out in a trio, maybe 4, maybe even 5 green fragrances. There was a couple of them that were very limited, and all of those green fragrances were really great, but my favorite was Vert de Bois, followed by Vert d'Encens, which I never got a full bottle of. But Vert de Bois, if you can get your hands on a bottle, I have a backup bottle after this. Somebody was selling a sealed box recently, sealed bottle, so I bought it from them. But man, Vert de Bois is really, really great. I absolutely love it. Sadly, it's discontinued, but if you can find one, get it. Especially if you like things like licorice and anise, or the smell of ouzo. Next up, going to the Noir series once again, and this is Noir Anthracite. Noir Anthracite was a big flop for Tom Ford, major flop. Man, you should see all the comments I received when I reviewed this particular fragrance. People hated this thing. They said it smells like a dead body. It smells like a cat, took a piss somewhere, and you're smelling all the kind of things, really, really negative comments about this particular fragrance, but I really, really loved it because to me it took me back to the 80s, late 70s, early 80s with something like Halston Z14, and I'm a big fan of that particular fragrance. It features Sichuan pepper, spices, ebony wood, cedar, galbanum, jasmine, birch, ginger, leather, patchouli. So yeah, it reminded me of Halston Z14, which Tom Ford also had Italian cypress, which I never bought a bottle, which also reminded me of Halston Z14, but this came out much after Italian Cypress did. They were different, but it kind of in that same chypre-like genre. And this was such a different fragrance compared to the original Noir and the Noir Extreme, but this flopped big time. So this is Noir Anthracite at number 6. I think it's such a great fragrance. I'm sorry if you guys don't like that one. I think it is amazing and it deserves to be at number 6. Alright, we're heading to the top of the list at number 5. It's Oud Wood. This one right here definitely deserves to be here. Very classy, woody, spicy oud fragrance, Western oud. It features oud. There's rosewood, there's sandalwood, there's cardamom, a bit of vanilla with Sichuan pepper, Vetiver, and Tonka. Definitely has a huge following, and it deserves it because it's very classy and gentlemanly. It's very, very dressy. I could see like a business executive wearing this particular fragrance. It does lean masculine to me because of all the notes in here and the type of notes in here, but women can totally wear this one, but it's a great release. Oud Wood has been copied and copied and copied as well by so many different brands, and it's great that Tom Ford launches something and it's so popular, other brands copy it. So at 5 it's Oud Wood, but at number 4 it's Ombre Leather, this one right here. Yeah, I think they did a good thing. They launched Tuscan Leather, years later they launched Ombre Leather as a limited edition in the private blend. It was called Ombre Leather 16. It came out in 2016, I believe. And then a year later they launched this, and it was such a big hit and probably one of the most popular leather fragrances. Makes sense because, man, people probably bought this instead of Tuscan Leather. And it deserves the attention because it's that good of a release, I think. It's leather, jasmine, amber, oak moss, cardamom, and patchouli. And in this case, I'm going with the original. I don't care for the parfum much. I think the Ombre Leather original, I think, is a solid fragrance. The next fragrance I'm talking about at number 3, it's Noir de Noir, the first Tom Ford private blend fragrance I ever bought. Still a great smelling fragrance. It's a chypre, rose chypre, very dark, mysterious, earthy, woody. It features rose, patchouli, truffles from under the ground, vanilla, oud, saffron, oak moss, and some floral touches. But in the end, it's that dark, very dark patchouli rose combo, a very, very chypre-like fragrance, and then the oak moss is in the bottom, in the base there, to give you that kind of like foamy earthiness. Wonderful fragrance. Noir de Noir, once again, copied so much as well. And then at number 2, it's Tobacco Vanille. This is it right here. I'm not going with the Tobacco Vanille at number 1, and sadly my number 1 fragrance has gone missing. I don't know where it is. I think I put it away because it's discontinued. But Tobacco Vanille is a Thanksgiving fragrance of all time. I'm going to wear it this Thanksgiving, or actually by the time this video might have aired, I probably already had celebrated Thanksgiving. But Tobacco Vanille is a spice bomb with tobacco and vanilla. There's dried fruits and spices and cacao with tonka beans. It's super delicious. Definitely deserves the number 1 or number 2 spot, because I think, once again, a wonderful creation from Tom Ford. It's been copied over and over again. People seem to love this one, and whoever the perfumer is did a great job creating it, because it smells fantastic. And I love the combination of the tobacco, the dried ashy tobacco, with the kind of syrupy vanilla to create this kind of like a dusty, powdery, not necessarily syrupy vanilla fragrance. So Tobacco Vanille at number 2. At number 1, it's Tobacco Oud. Damn, I don't know where my bottle is, guys. I put it away because it is amazing, and I recently ended up buying another 100 ml bottle from Selfridges. I did a video on it. You can go catch that, search for Tobacco Oud, but I can't find either of them right now. I just put it away somewhere, but definitely deserves to be here. There's been a rumor that Tom Ford's launching it as a signature fragrance. I don't think it'll ever be launched. I think it's too daring of a fragrance to be launched as a signature fragrance. I don't think it did very well. That's why it's only selling very limited now across the pond. In the UK, I know it sells there. But when I was talking to a Tom Ford rep here, they said it doesn't sell here because there's no market for it. But I love the combination of tobacco with whiskey. There's oud, there's spices, there's sandalwood, patchouli, incense, and benzoin. There's definitely dirtiness in there. You gotta be into it. It's dirty, it's ashy, a bit musky, a little spicy like cumin, sweaty. Man, this stuff is so good. Really, really great. One of my all-time favorite fragrances from Tom Ford, Tobacco Oud, deserves the number 1 spot. And that's pretty much the list for you guys. I know there's a lot of other great fragrances that I never got access to or had a chance to buy. So sadly, I can't list them without the bottles here. And of course, I have Tobacco Oud. I've spoken about it on the channel. I just don't know where the bottle is right now. But if you have a favorite Tom Ford fragrance that I didn't mention today, put a comment down so I can find out. What are your thoughts on these fragrances that I talked to you about today? What are your thoughts about Estee Lauder buying Tom Ford for $2.8 million? Everything, they own everything now. Tom Ford will no longer be with Tom Ford, but he'll be with the company until the end of next year is what I should say. So he'll be leaving Tom Ford completely after 2023 is over. So the name is sold. He is not sold, he is leaving, he's become a billionaire actually. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on that, and also let me know what your thoughts are on Cherry Smoke if you sampled it. I've heard from a few people that already have a bottle that smells fantastic. Why can I get a bottle? I've looked to try it, and I'm really curious about the trio of cherry fragrances as well. Anyway guys, thanks so much for watching today's video. If you have any questions or comments, please list below. Please like this video, please share it. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye. Well, I decided to just read off a couple of other fragrances that I have that I did not make the list. The other fragrances are Metallique, which is a vanillic aldehydic fragrance with ambrette, heliotrope, Peru, Balsam, and Hawthorn. Of course, Tuscan Leather. I featured Tuscan Leather Intense, and it's leather, raspberry, suede, saffron, woods. And then there's, of course, Mandarino de Amalfi Aqua, which I've had for a while. And that features mandarin orange, orange blossom, grapefruit, lemons. Vanille Fatale, which was also a favorite, and I think it's very limitedly selling. It didn't make the top 20. It's vanilla, suede, barley, myrrh, coffee, rum, tobacco, mahogany, olibanum. Then there's Rose de Amalfi, and this is a more recent launch with the trio of rose fragrances from earlier this year that featured bergamot, rose, heliotrope. Stay tuned for a feature of Rose de Amalfi very soon in a video coming up in the next 2-3 weeks. There's Ebene Fumé, which I kind of warmed up to after kind of gave it a disappointing review. I like it now more than I did before. It features black pepper, incense, Palo Santo wood, leather, ebony wood, papyrus, resins, labdanum, and amber. Also Costa Azzurra Parfum, which I'm a fan of more than the Eau de Parfum. It features Italian lemon, oak wood, cypress, cistus, labdanum, and amber. It takes on an ambery direction with a kind of a marine aquatic thing. Cafe Rose, I have a bottle. I actually ended up with a very great price on a discounted 250 ml bottle, but sadly it didn't make it on this top 20. And Cafe Rose has been a love-hate for me. I like the idea of it, and I love rose and coffee together, but it's such a dry fragrance. It features Turkish, Bulgarian, and May rose along with coffee, incense, patchouli, sandalwood, amber, black pepper. Finally, Azure Lime. I actually have two 250 ml bottles. One of them is half full. The other one is full. I'm not sure how I ended up with two bottles, but I have two bottles. But it's lime, citruses, woodsy notes, musk, and floral notes. This one actually was one of my earlier purchases from a long time ago, maybe almost 10 years ago. Could be 8 years ago. It's a limey fragrance, a very citrusy, bit of floral, of course. And then finally, Jasmine Rouge, which I also ended up discounted somewhere. The large 250 ml bottle. It's jasmine with ylang-ylang, neroli, cinnamon, ginger, amber, and wood. So I might be missing a few fragrances. There's a ton of fragrances out there. These are ones that I own personally. Anything that I don't own, I did not talk about today. There's a lot of great fragrances that Tom Ford launched that I never got access to, never bought, like Italian Cypress, Bois Marocain, although it is selling now. Moss brushes, lavender palm, which I couldn't stand. I hated that fragrance. I didn't like that oily lavender fragrance because it had a very oily texture to it. But many other fragrances that came and went, and Shanghai Lily was another good one. I remember now. Plum Japonais. I wish I have a bottle of it. Don't have any of these fragrances sadly currently. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. Have a good one. Goodbye.